I read 15 books. You heard it. 15 books in the month of October, and I want to chat about them with you guys because this is the best reading month that I've ever had, period. I actually had to double check that I was right. 15 books. So let's get into them. So I've decided I'm going to do them in the order that I actually read them in the month of October. And the first one we started off with was Before We Were Strangers. Now this was on my TBR for so long. It's not a big read. It was a super easy read. I personally did not like this. I saw the hype on TikTok. I succumbed to the hype. Wish I didn't. I feel like the plot line was there. It could have been so amazing. But I just didn't like the way it was written. I thought it was just, I don't know, it came across as kind of tacky for me. Some bits were quite toxic. I just didn't really like it. I rated this 2 stars, and to be honest, I even feel like that was probably too nice. Looking back, I probably would have given this 1 star. So this is a 1-star read for me. Sorry. The next book I read in the month of October was Once Upon a Broken Heart. I finished the Caravel series and I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend reading the Caravel series first before you jump into this, just because I feel like it shapes this book a little bit better. You understand one of the main characters in this book a lot better, and there's reference to especially the last book finale in the Caravel series quite a lot at the start of this book. I rated this 5 stars. In reflection, I probably would rate it 4.5 stars. This whole entire series for me is a 5-star read. I really enjoyed this one, and it just really highlighted the makings of Evangeline and Jax, which are the 2 main characters in this book. And they followed them through the whole trilogy series, and I just loved it so much. I feel like Stephanie Garber's writing is so magical. It is a fantasy read, but to me it's a bit more like fairy tale fantasy. So if you're kind of wanting to just start fantasy, I actually think the Caravel series and the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, both trilogies but both in the whole universe, and make each other make more sense. I feel like this is the perfect way to start your fantasy reads. Following on from Once Upon a Broken Heart, I read the second book in the series, which is The Ballad of Never After. This was a 5-star read. This literally left me on the biggest cliffhanger. I still think about the cliffhanger to this day. I was shocked. I was gobsmacked. It made me so excited for the 3rd book to come out. And I'm really glad that I read this series in the month of October, because it led me into the 3rd book in the series, which obviously came out in October, which was A Curse for True Love, which I will talk about because I did also read that this month. It wasn't until the end of October that I did read that book, but I'm really glad that I started this series in October because it helped the whole series just kind of be refreshed in my brain. But I highly recommend this, and this out of the whole trilogy, this was the 5-star read. The ending on this one was one of the best cliffhangers I've read in a fantasy book in a really long time, and I just could not wait to get into the 3rd one, so highly recommend this, 5-star. Then I went into a YA romance. This was such a cute read. I did actually give this 5-star. I read this in a matter of 24 hours, if not under that. I'm pretty sure I started in the afternoon and finished it at nighttime. Just such a cute, fun, easy read. Highly recommend this, especially if you're in like a little reading rut. It is YA romance, and it's quite heavy on the YA, but it's basically where like the girl has a crush on somebody else and then she's trying to get his attention, plots with the guy next door, and then you kind of know where it's going to go from there. It's a really cute story. I really enjoyed it. It made me feel really giddy, and this is definitely a 5-star read to me. I do not think this is overhyped. I think it's worth the hype that it gets. Started One Dark Window. This is a dark gothic romance, and oh my god, wasn't sure if I was gonna like this. I've never read a gothic romance before, but I cannot wait to read Two Twisted Crowns. It did in fact come out this month. I'm just trying to wait for the physical copy because I really liked this book, and I do want the physical copy. I have decided if the physical copy doesn't come out here in Australia in the next couple of weeks, I'm just gonna read on Kindle and then order one anyway. But this was such a good series, and the cliffhanger this left you on was so good. This should get more hype. I love living near the water. Okay, let's go to what I was saying. Not wait to read the second one in this. It is a part of a duology series. I think her name's Elspeth. So it follows Elspeth. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if I've said that name incorrectly. It follows a girl who basically has this like nightmare living inside of her. Basically kind of like goes through her journey of living with this nightmare in her head and the backstory of that. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really good read. So I highly recommend this. And I also did give this one 5 stars as well, and I definitely think it was worth the 5 stars. And I went straight into Hopeless. I went back to my Cowboy romance. If you guys don't know already, I'm a huge Elsie Silver fan. I actually read this on my Kindle because there was no way I was gonna wait to read this. As soon as it came out, I immediately started the next day, and I did in fact read it in a day. I loved Bo and I loved Bailey. I thought this was the most perfect story. There were a couple of tropes in this that I don't usually like in reads, but I ate it up in this book. For me, this was a 5-star read. I know other people may have rated it 4-star, but I think the whole Chestnut Spring series as a whole was 5-star. And if it's making me feel giddy and I'm reading it in less than 24 hours, to me that's a 5-star read. As long as it makes me feel giddy and I've read it fast, 5-star read for me. I highly recommend this series if you haven't read it. Don't let cowboy romance deter you from this entire series, because I thought I was never going to be a cowboy romance girly, and I'm yeeharing for these characters. Almost tempted to do a reread because that's how much I love this series. So thank you, Elsie Silver. You are one of my favorite authors of 2023 for sure. Going from that, I read a Kindle book, which was Tempt Our Fate, which is the second book in the Sutton Mountain series. I really like this. However, I did give it 3 stars. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. There were some tropes in it that I personally didn't really like. I'm not like a huge degradation kink kind of person. Some of that was kind of in here. I'm a bit more of a praise kink kind of girly, so some parts kind of triggering in a way, I guess, like with the smut scenes, but it was still a really good read, and I did give it 3 stars, but in hindsight, I would probably give it more like 3.5 stars. Following on from that, I read Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I actually, and don't come for me guys, I didn't like Icebreaker. I do think it's one of those books that you either love it or you don't like it. I'm on the side of don't like it. I just didn't really like the plot. I'm not a huge hockey romance kind of girl. I just didn't really like it that much. I really wanted to like it because I actually think the cartoon covers of her books are so cute, and the cartoon cover of Icebreaker was amazing. Like, I thought it was really, really cute. This one I could get around. I did like the camp kind of setting. I thought it was really fun. I also really liked Russ. Aurora, I wasn't sure about. I will say I'm not a huge fan of Hannah Grace's female main characters, but I can get around her MMCs so hard. I've heard a lot of people say that they loved Nate in the first one. I only got about halfway through Icebreaker before I did DNF it, so I can't comment on the rest of that character's development. But Russ, I can get around. I just thought he was the sweetest guy. He ticked all the boxes, massive green flags, and epilogue in this was super cute. It was such a cute, happy ending. I'm definitely intrigued to see how the third one will go. I can see the next character in this series being really fun, so I don't want to rule it out. I wouldn't say they're my favorite books to read. I actually did give Wildfire a 3-star read. I thought it was super cute, but it's not my favorite read of October. The next book that I read in the month of October was Out on a Limb. I heard so many people talk about this. I'm gonna be honest, I thought it was such a cute, healthy romance read, but I don't like the pregnancy trope. And this one was all around the pregnancy trope. That's not giving any spoilers away. I'm gonna be honest, I do not think this was like one of my super favorite reads of October. It was very fun. I really liked the fact that it was like a healthy romance. There was not really any toxicity towards this. And I gave this 3 stars, and I stand by the rating that I gave it. I thought it was really cute. To other people, they might read this and give it like 4 or 5 stars. I just didn't like the pregnancy trope. I did like the writing. I thought it was really sweet. When I started the series Serpent and Dove, this was so good. I actually went into a massive reading slump, and I thought, oh my god, I'm not gonna get out of this reading slump. Alas, Serpent and Dove, thank you so much, Shelby. You got me out of my reading slump. And the most exciting part about this is, this was actually her debut novel. Well, that's what it says in the back of this book anyway. This was about like witch versus witch hunter. Was a romance with it in the end. I just thought this was such an amazing fantasy read. Cannot wait to read the rest of the series. I also think that the cover of these books is so cute. Like, I think all of the covers, can't wait to read the rest of the series. I gave this 4 stars. Then I went into The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I actually read The 7 Year Slip, and I absolutely adored that book. 5-star read. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend it. And I was super excited going to this book here, but it was a bit slower for me. I thought it was such a cute read still. It basically follows a girl who's going through many stages of grief, who can see ghosts. So to me, she's a medium. I thought it was such a cute, fun read, but I was hoping for a little bit more with this book. And to be honest, it actually took me a few days to get through it, just because I wasn't like super interested in the characters, just because it felt really slow. But when it did get to the fun parts, they were super fun. I actually gave this 3 stars, and again, I still stand by that rating in reflection. Then I read A Curse for True Love, which is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy series by Stephanie Garber. I actually had super high expectations for this book, and mostly it followed through with that. I will say it was a slightly slower start. I think I've lost my patience now. It was a character POV that I just kept seeing, and I was like, I'm sick of this character's point of view. If you've read this series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. One character where I really wish we had more POV of, but I do feel like you can tell that the ending of this book was quite rushed, or that's how it felt to me. But I still like the ending. I still thought that this was a great read. And I did give this one 5 stars on Goodreads, but in reflection, it probably was a bit more of a 4.5 star read, maybe even leaning towards the 4-star read. But I did think this is a really good book. I definitely think that Stephanie's not finished in the universe of these characters, so I'm excited to see what else she comes up with. Following on from A Curse of True Love, I started the Throne of Glass series, and I started with Assassin's Blade. Now, there is a lot of conflict when it comes to where the novellas should be in the Throne of Glass series. I decided this was going to be the first one that I read, and I'm really glad I did that because I feel like going to Throne of Glass, which was the next book that I read in this series, I felt like I understood Selena's character and the reason she had her motives, and other characters who I'm sure will show up at some point again in the future. I understood all of that so much better from these novellas, and as I said, this is 5 novellas in one book. I personally thought it was super fast paced, and as I said, I still think that this should be the one that you read first. It doesn't make any sense to me that you would read this throughout the other books, but that's just my personal opinion, and you can read this book however you want in this series. And you can do this book however you want in the series. I just personally think that you should read it first. I think it was a 5-star read to me, and I'm really glad that this was how I started the series. Following on from that, I started Throne of Glass. This was super action-packed. I have already done 2 different reading vlogs, so go check that out, where I explained my theories and my experiences with Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass. I did give this one 5 stars. Again, I still stand by that rating. I really enjoyed it, and it made me very excited for the rest of the books in the series. I have heard that as you progress in the series, the books get better, which leads me on to the last book that I read in the month of October, which was Crown of Midnight. This book was amazing. 5 stars. Can already see that the next books in this series are going to be quite full on, because this one was super action packed. There was a lot going on. I had all the theories, and then they were chucked out the window, and then new theories came, and it was just a roller coaster. I also did film a reading vlog for Crown of Midnight. I tend to film reading vlogs for the entire series, each one of the books. It's like a 7 or 8 book series. I'm pretty sure it's 7 books. I'll probably correct myself here if I've said that wrong, but it's a big series, and I thought, you know what, let's vlog this whole experience, because I really wish I did do that with ACOTAR, because I loved that series. And tenfold, I'm only, what, 3 books in this series, and I can already say that I think Throne of Glass is almost taking over how much I love ACOTAR. And that's saying something. That is saying something. So I'm super excited to start Heir of Fire in the month of November, and I can't wait to see where the character develops from there, and all the other theories that I have, whether they eventuate from that. I did highlight quite a lot in this book, as you can see. And if you already are a Sarah J Maas fan, or you've read all of the Sarah J Maas books, or even started them, you will always know that the last 200 pages are very action-packed. There is a lot going on, and that last page hits. It hits you in the chest, in the soul, in the heart, in the mind. It hits you in all the places, and it makes you want to read the next book. With that, I'll chat with you soon, and I'll see you in the month of November. And let's see if I again have the best reading month like I did this month. 15 books, guys. 15 books! That's a record for me. I don't think I've ever read that much before, and I didn't even mean to. It just happened. I'm proud of myself. I'll see you soon. Bye!